Scandinavians now need to celebrate. Celebrate your civility, your concern about others. Celebrate your concern and conscientiousness. You're doing the right thing the right way. There's a lot of that discipline. Now celebrate that. You experience the boundless joy. That's all what there's left. Really, there's nothing more here. Everybody's got a bit of a home, a bit of a shelter, a bit of education. It's all there. So what is missing? What is missing is for you to enter into the domain of joy. That's all. Stop it, that's all. Regularly, constantly. Silence. Acceptance and contentment. That's the title of your contentment, irrespective of your feeling or your experience. Not important. Your experience changes. Be content. And then you can deal with discontentment easier. Much easier. Be discontent with your lower self and celebrate the higher self. Discontent with the human side, which is ever changing, and more than contentment with the lighting. That's all what there is. For that you need a bit of companionship, a bit of reminders, and to apologize. Really. You have to excuse the nafs. Greet it, suffer from it, but excuse it also. Allah, yes.
Yeah, I've heard about you said discipline, and your wife said boundaries. And do you think it's important because that is a very needy thing to have in order to be present and have a relationship to those different things which perhaps upset us? Is this boundaries a necessity for to cultivate this presence and this to have a relationship with everything which is coming and going? Or
well, I will go back to where I don't like boundaries. Now answer me. I'm asking Munir.
Okay.
I don't like boundaries.
Well,
don't give me
without
boundaries.
Constriction, how can you have expansion? If we're living in a realm of duality, we have to be balanced between constriction and expansion. And constriction is boundaries.
Okay.
I don't like constriction. I don't like restriction.
Says the
I don't like
translator of
anything
Ibn
that moves or
al-Fadl
changes.
on the virtues
I am
of constriction.
frightened. Who is it? What is it? Why? I don't want that. Give me that which never ever changes. Give me a friend that is beyond loyalty. Others come and go, and they forget, and they become senile or whatever. I don't like that. So what should I do? Really what it means is that we are physical entities. And that is the trick of life. That there are these boundless levels of souls or spirits. Zillions of them. And the ones which we recognize are to do with animals or plants, that it has a life. But there's only life, you see. So once it manifests, it has a beginning and an end. And it follows a pattern. So the human being is not the same as a mouse. Each has its own pattern. We have to accept it. This is where the idea of boundaries comes. It has limitations. We love to sleep, but it has a limitation of how many hours we sleep. We like wealth. How much do you want? We like power. How much will it be enough? It's the boundless that begin to appear when I accept the boundary. When I accept, no, this is my limitation, I can't help you more. This wonderful man today, the police officer, you know, such a wonderful being. He said he is upset about the waste. He is upset about how much suffering there is. It was his words. I don't like people to suffer so much. So this is our nature of wanting to share that which is wonderful. But there's a limit. You can't share more than that. You do what you can. Please excuse me, I can't do more. Something liberated me a lot. Because I used to like to have harmony between people, you know, in relationships, and especially in gender relationships. And I used to feel good by trying to mend it. But of course, 1 week later, back again, you know, the old habits come back. So I ended up, whenever somebody said, "Look, really, I'm having a lot of trouble with my husband," I said, "No, he's a terrible person, kill him." And vice versa also, I would kill her. So soon, I think it took about 6 months before that reputation got to be known. So nobody comes to me. So I said, "No, he's not helpful. He doesn't listen to my gossip, or doesn't." So really, so these are boundaries. I can't help you. Please excuse me. Go somewhere else. Accept your limitations. The more you accept your limitations, the more you are at the edge of the limitless. Same thing was depending on people. You know, I depend on him, on her. That's fine. But who are they? They're not reliable. They die, they may change their mind, and whatever. So accept a visible entity that you are relying on, but know that you're really relying on the origin. So you're relying on the one. You're relying on God. You're relying on the God. But don't deny the chain of reliability comes out at the end. Somebody's bringing it. Beautiful description in the Quran. You must find a means to end where the beginning is. وَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. Several ayahs in the Quran. You must find your way. Because I have identified myself with the so-called myself, so I have to unravel that. So until you find that there is that self, there is that touch of humanity, but you are now far, far more embraced by the infinite. So you expect the best of the best of the best of the best. Sometimes you do the little you can, some other times you don't. Keep quiet, don't disturb the peace. Easy, I tell you, for you people it's easy. People are embarrassed when they greet each other here, so it's very easy. They feel guilty. It's very easy when there are the basics for survival. A bit of shelter, clothing. Then you have to move on towards arrival. Otherwise, it's endless. Survival, survival. How many places do you want? How many cars? What are you going to do? How many beds can you sleep in? We're all universal. If that universality doesn't come as light and as inner, it will take the appearance of the outer. You want to have a place everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's beautiful, you want to live there more. How many lives will you get? We go back to the theme of your gathering here. Not until you are content, irrespective of the outer situation or your experiences. When you are content by contentment itself, then you are a safe human being. Prior to that, you can be very dangerous. Somebody who was your friend and so on, suddenly they can turn the nastiest. Really, it's amazing. They just shift really through. I really thought you were my friend, and yes, I was, not anymore. I am now my friend, or something. Changes. Are you willing to accept the change? With a smile. Of course, initially it's a shock. Don't deny it. I don't like boundaries. Wonderful. What are you going to do now? You have no option. You're bounded physically, mentally, this, by air, whatever. So it's not a question of would I accept boundaries or not. You are, I am, he is, she is, trapped. The soul is infinite, trapped for a while. So appease it, say, yes, yes, I know you're Fadhlalla. Getting a bit tired, rest. Catch yourself when things are failing. That's the best time. No things are easy, it carries on, then suddenly you find you're 10 years older and nothing. Coasting along. Catch yourself when you've had a shock. And look at the divine grace. No one ever is spared from being shocked. Every now and then you're shocked. It's wonderful too. Degrees of waking up, step after another, until you found that there is within you something that is never, never asleep. Never, never, ever absent. You and I can go absent, you go in a coma or something, or sleep. But there is within you something that never, ever, ever is absent. It's aware of time, but it is not in time. It's all what you need to do. And reflect upon it. And you find the universe is in you. And that's it. And it will not be theory, it will not be Sufi talking. The worst thing is to be with ignorant Sufis. Really, I found that's really the most awful situation. It's all this nice glib talk, and it's a bit of, not true. Don't be with Sufis if you can help it. Or religious people, I think that's even worse. But they expect that they have sacrificed something. So now you and I and everybody else has to. You are really religious. How many times you have been going? 15 times I've been there. Boring stuff. Allah. That's all what we have. The light is the message. SubhanAllah. No, I'm really enjoying it here so much. I don't think I can. I don't think I can keep quiet now. It's all Shaykh Saadi's fault. I asked him to say something. He said, "Alhamdulillah."
We call that priming the pump, Shaykh.
That's it. That man knows it all. He's an ultimate trickster. Yeah. Oh, thank God for Natalia. Yeah. Thank you, Natalia. Really, Allah. Allah, Allah. Allah. And I'm very glad Yakuta is here. Thank you for being here. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you for Allah. Thank you for wanting to know what is it all about. Thank you for wanting to wake up. Thank you for wanting to get out of yourself. Now before you leave your wallet behind. Get out of. Yeah. And that's why no two relationships will ever work. It's not. What do you want from the other? What do you want? Where do you want? It's like that poor woman, you remember the ambassador's wife? She said, you remember when you, she said, I gave him everything. I gave him my mind. I gave him,
Yes.
yes, that's it. What is
What was it that she said?
it? Brilliant. She said, my husband, I gave him everything.
And then it's something like he can't affect the way I think, or something like that. I can't.
So what is it you want from the other? What do you want?
Mm.
Poor woman, she's like you. Poor man, he's another sufferer. What do you expect from somebody who himself is confused? It's your illusion that you know, I'll be saved. I thought really, when I married you, that I will truly find happiness forever. Happiness forever.
He mustn't. He thinks he can tell me how to think. That was what was said.
Well, that's easy also. The poor woman now gives up also her thinking. But what about her sinking? You know, everybody's sinking. Now, we are possessive as a reflection of that which possesses us. Your soul possesses you. Wake up to that. It's the other way around. This is the way you think. You're not who you think you are. The real you is beyond measure, is beyond description, is divine, and is ever perfect. Accept the limitations due to the presence of that light. And then it's all. Then you have a few years here and there. What's few years between times? You know that death is only a perfect transfer. So what's the problem? Oh, you didn't know I was ill for the last 6 years. Please keep away. 18 years, like these Muslims, they have a lot of these habits. He said, you know, I was so ill, and you were supposed to be my brother. You know, they all call themselves brother and sister and all that rubbish. It's a lie. So he said, I was so ill and you didn't come to visit me. He said, I heard you were so ill, I didn't know Shaitan will let me down. I thought you were off. I didn't see you. I didn't know that you're back again and demanding. So you will always be let down. Watch out. What you expect is, I won't see them anymore. I made all those mistakes. Don't be surprised. Suddenly they all appear. They're all there. Yeah, this issue of relationship is from the legacy of the past poverty and survival needs. You can't survive, you have to help each other. But we have come to a zone in our experience that's poised for arrival, not survival. So your expectations is false. The other partner is also the same, struggling to be more present, to be more at ease, to have less anger, to have less expectation, less suffering, less fear, same as you. That's it, we're all the same. So you will be let down. You will be, because you want to be in the good books or to have the right opinions, you will be let down. I share with you a real situation. You know, being of an Eastern traditional background, my natural human as well as the inner love and affection and devotion was very much to my mother. And I've always wanted to please her. And we have this custom amongst the so-called traditional Muslims. That whenever you say goodbye, you know, I would go and the last thing I would ask her, is there anything I can do? Is there, you know, we have this habit, especially for the East. You know, it's out of politeness. And it often worked. She said, no, thank you, I feel blessed, and so on. So I can now go for my mischief, you know. My mother is happy, so God must be happy. No. But one day, I tell you, it was not that long ago, it was in America. I was leaving for a long trip to the East, you know. And I asked her, is there anything? She said, yes. You know, my bathroom, I'd like it to, you know, it was a major reconstruction of her bathroom in her room. She said, can I have the sink there and I have this? I'll change your room. I have my bag. I usually also don't like to be in the airport too early. I want to challenge the airline. So I thought to myself, my God, she asked me this a week before, a month before, or wait until I'm back. So of course I want to please her, and here I'm not able to do it. So I was about to really didn't know whether to blow up and be angry with who. I said, you deserve it, you wanted the politeness, and here is it is, you see. So you will be challenged if you want to please someone else. Suddenly she'll turn around to you, do you know all of these gifts you have given me? You've given me 19 bottles of that miserable perfume. I don't like it. Oh, why didn't you say earlier? Because you gave her no chance, the poor woman. You've wrapped it, and the wrapping is far more than the whole damn thing right in the middle. So watch out. Don't try to please anyone. You can't please anyone. You are not who you think you are. So make sure the soul is your reference point. Not your mother, your father, your teacher. And if there's any teacher who tells you, I can give you something, run away. Honestly, run away from such a teacher. I can give you something. There's no such thing. The best teacher ever, he can show you as a mirror that you have to take away from yourself what you thought was important or necessary. Take away. It's reduction. Not increase. In business, it's increase. You want more. But what about the spiritual business? Less is more. So it is back to back. So a teacher showing you a skill will give you more. You can do this better if you move it that way, that's fine. But when it comes to the conscious issue, consciousness, your light, your awakening, then less is more. Otherwise it becomes cultist and personalities, and it is disaster. Doesn't work. So be with whoever tells you genuinely, I can't give you anything. Orders from the one, by permission of the one, everything returns to the one. And the best I can do as a friend, as somebody who can share with you love, maybe you look in my heart, look in my mirror, look in whatever, you may then be able to correct yourself. The same thing as you look in a physical mirror, you want. We all like to be beautiful. Beauty is harmony. Harmony is connectedness. Connectedness implies the ongoingness, the ever-present. That's all. So do present yourself as best as you can in the outer, but your inner is beyond description in its perfection as far as your soul is concerned. That's all. This is the foundation of the deen. But if it is not lived, it becomes preaching and teaching and imposition and guilt. Foundation of Islam is that there is only one. And that one is camouflaged within space and time that you will come to know when it ends, which is the hereafter. Two things of the entire foundation of the Quran is there is only one. So what is the confusion? Because you are two. 1 minute you are listening to your voice, 1 minute you are listening to your reputation, 1 minute you want to please Yusuf, 1 minute you want to please his father. So you're confused. Until say, no, I love them as I know my soul or the divine in me loves me. And that's all. Bismillah. 1 minute they're there, 1 year they're not there. It doesn't matter. So the most important thing to always remember that no one can give you, in the spiritual sense, anything more. They can help you to reduce your baggage. You know, I have this duty, I have this duty. What These are part of the physical human exercise. We are in a kindergarten here, we are in a nursery, learning to groom the nafs. How much do you want? Ask yourself, what do you want? You find you want not to want. That's all. Big deal, want not to. Don't play game of modesty, you know, we are very modesty. It's awful. The piety syndrome or religious. You don't know how many times one of the ugliest things is putting rank in a religious or a spiritual way. Ugly, really, it's awful. And young people know it. That's why you must have more young people. In order to have them, you need to help them to move in a direction that they can do things. Go somewhere, help somewhere, be with other people and enjoy it. Sheikh Muslim, I intended to come here because of the cold wind. It seemed as though others felt the same thing. So please help. Oh, wow. You're a wonderful person. You no wonder we all will follow you. Oh, wow. Really, you have a wonderful situation here with people. I pray that it's dynamic, self-energizing thrust will be mainly for enabling people who have all of what anybody needs. They have shelter, they have education, they have good health, for them to see how the whole world is small. And go somewhere, sponsor someone, be with other people. I share with you my Tanzania, one of the experiences I had in Tanzania was really humbling. You know, it was with orphans. There were 63 of them, because I remember because they were sleeping on a concrete floor. It was a railway station, part of the German time of Tanganyika. It was about 2-3 hours away inland, very poor area. And there were some charities and they invited me, we went. There were 63 of them. And I think each one of them had a handicap. Either it was blindness or something. None of them was well. So we arrived in that huge hangar in the middle of nowhere. The railways over, the German occupants. They were using that hangar as a shelter. Within half an hour, 63 people, these young people, all arrived from different directions, from the woods and the jungles. And they started singing. They were doing some Sufi singing. So wonderful, their sound. Anyway, they'd arranged for a nice food and lunch. And I thought maybe I'd arrange for them to have a mattress each on that floor. Well, they needed water. The nearest water, I think, was a few kilometers away. They were carrying it by cans, full of holes also. By the time you arrive, 2/3 of it is gone. So I thought we'd give them a pipe. Well, anyway, so at the end of the day, I really enjoyed myself with these people. I really felt wonderful, like God's children. So I said, is there anything I can do? There was a silence. They were singing in between also. And then one person stood up, speaking on behalf of the rest. He said, yes. So I thought, yeah, I can do something. He said, pray for us. Honestly, I could have sunk. They had nothing. And they said, just pray for us. We don't need anything. Thank you, we don't want it. So there I have got a lot of memories like this from Tanzania. So please connect with any part of the world that there is gratitude. You will be humble. And by humble, your knees will be less, your mind will be more sharp, and you'll be more present. And you are enriched. مرحبا ست وهبي كيف الحال؟ يا مرحبا بي أنا كتير فرحان أشوفك. الله المعطي هو الواحد بس كله منه سبحان الله. So don't expect from anyone else. Listen your own noise and then wait. You will be surprised beyond surprise. Also in business, we become super efficient because everybody is rushing and rushing. If you have got that connectedness, then every now and then you say, I wait. There's a man who was considered, it's a real situation, in South Africa. The most difficult man to deal with. He's a businessman, very successful. And the business has been growing. The man is a Muslim, very pious, genuine, a lot of salat. Everybody around him in that office, expanding office, numerous branches, quite big in a sense, for South African standards. And his son, very close to me, said, I can never understand my father. He surprises us all the time, and we are shocked. Whenever he comes in, we don't know what else he's coming to exchange. The business is growing, they wanted to establish better computer facilities, feedback. So they had McKinsey doing a 6-month study, very expensive, to read whatever, all of their strategic changes. Suddenly this man comes in and he said, no, we don't do it. Nobody could understand, and that is because, so I like the bad. He said, look, I have no greed. I am very content. I have more than anybody can. And most of my work is really quietly, secretly charity. Hardly anybody knows what I do. But I'm not motivated by increase. And I suddenly know that this is the boundary. Isn't that beautiful? The biggest shock they had is that this man had a lot of property in England. He was accumulating a large portfolio of property investment, and the properties were going up and up. Suddenly one day he comes and says, I'm going to instruct my agents, all of them, to liquidate. People in the office, people as a business advisor, wrong time. He said, I don't care, I'm liquidated, finish. 2 weeks or 3 weeks after that, everything collapses. Now we had no premonition of any of this. So I asked him, I said, tell me what happened. He said, actually, after several morning salah, I suddenly felt I'm confronting myself. What am I doing with all this wealth there? Why? For who? Isn't it? Stop it. It's not your business. You are not there. You are not in England. He said, after a few days, I had no option other than putting an end. So if you have that constant connectedness with the higher, then everything becomes super efficient. No, thank you. Everything looks on the surface is fine, feasibility is there, everything. No, thank you. I don't. And let your inner smile at you. Save yourself from the lower self. Sheikh Muslim, I think I've gone over time.
Still, we don't pay for it.
I was warned, don't fall under the spell of a Viking. Really, I can't tell you what a delight to be with like-minded, like-hearted people. And to be in an environment where the mental, the civil, the rational side is at a very high level. So all what is left is to go to the heart and to your celebration in order to be prepared for the infinite garden. This is all a little practice, a bit of this and a bit of that. So the human project is not to deny all of our basic needs and limitations, and also at the same time yearn and taste and touch the limitless. That's all. That's all what there is to do. If religion doesn't lead you to that, then you are either reading it wrongly or it is a dreadful religion. It's as simple as that. It's a means, it's a language to connect, to communicate, seen and the unseen. That's why these great languages were, Shaykh Saadi had also taken, this is a big gift for him to go into the Abrahamic stable of these connectedness and pick the key connectedness. Shaykh Saadi, can I ask you, give me 5 words that are exactly connecting the invisible and the visible in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Arabic?
The first one is not so obvious, but it's most obvious, where we say in Arabic, wasamawati wal ard. This is the same as the Hebrew Shemaim and Aretz, or Aramaic Shemaya, Ar'ah. So all of these prayers, all the whole scriptures, they're all beginning telling us that there are these 2 realms. Once we leave ultimate oneness, then we have the 2. Samawati, or Shemaim, or Shemaya, the totally boundless, always connected, always on, wave, limitless waves, the ocean. Art, boundaries, limits, persons, beings, selves, levels, all this, slicing and dicing. And, we think it means just earth and heaven, but these are, you could say, symbols. We're meant to look through them. And so these are the first 2, but you could say that maybe the most important, but they're overlooked because we think it's just this and this.
Allah.
So another, I would say, most important, I'm up to 3 now, aren't I, already? Well, I'll give you 2 for 1.
See, he's been living in Scotland, they do bargain.
We're thrifty in Scotland.
Yeah, that's right.
I mentioned it the other day for those that were here. Kaddish, Kadosh, Kudus. Kudus in Arabic. What we call sacred, holy. Ya Kudus, Al Kudus. Jesus has it in his prayer. Nit Kaddish. Let there be holiness, spaciousness. Hebrew is the same. Kadosh. The angels sing Kadosh in the vision of Isaiah. So, as I mentioned the other day, what are they talking about? They're talking about spaciousness. Because the ka means to, the ka sound means to carve, to shape something. Again, to sort of shape a differentiation between spaciousness and more spaciousness. Like space within space. And then in the middle of this space is some sort of light or center, which becomes set apart. So we notice it. And what we notice, you could say what we notice most in our lives, what we spend most time on in our lives, that's what's holy for us. No matter what we may call, if we call it religion, we call it business, we call it this, we call it that, doesn't matter. Whatever we spend most time on, or whatever we focus on most, has to be, by definition, in these, for our foremothers, forefathers, that has to be special, holy, sacred. So the sun is then the symbol of this in the heavens. The light, but space around it. If we only had sun and no space around it, as I mentioned, we'd all be burnt to a crisp in a moment. So we have space, we have atmosphere. We're meant to be reminded, okay, look at the sun. As you mentioned yesterday, look at the moon, look at the sun. All these are symbols. I don't need to mention, you already mentioned it. Rahman Rahim, very important. Jesus he doesn't have the both, he only has the one. He has Rahme, Rahmane. Uses this very often in his talks. Raham, the womb in Hebrew. But Jesus uses it, for instance, in the Beatitude. Ripe are those, he says, blessedly ripe are those who have this Raham, this raying forth. Raham. Ra means to ray forth in all of these ancient languages. Hum means from the inside. Hum. You know, like we say hum. When I take something in and I want to think about it longer, then I say hum. I don't know what to say, but I take it in and it's sort of sitting inside of me. There's nothing to say, but it's sort of growing, and then raham. So from inside to outside, raham. From here, like this, raham. So this becomes the word for things we call compassion, mercy, love. You know, all these are words, but this is a feeling first for our ancestors. Quran has the beautiful formula, you know, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, which we repeat many times because it's both. It's this and this. Giving and receiving has to be back and forth. There's always giving and receiving. In the older two languages, it's the two is in one, is still in the one, and the two is implied. So, what else are we going into? Let's try for one we also use quite a bit. Maliki Yawmiddin. The Malik, Al-Malik. Jesus uses Malkuta. Malkuta. And the Hebrew has Melech, it has Malakut. It has different formulations of this, which we usually associate with kings and queens, because it's translated in some ways. Mastery, kingdom, these sorts of things. You know, again, these are words that are indicating something that our ancestors later identified with community leaders. But it starts by being from the roots really a sense of vision with empowerment. You could say both. When in the ancient times, there were always beings, and the Quran says this, there were always beings who had the connection to the other world, who were able to receive something to give to the community when it was needed. Okay, there's no food here, as I mentioned the other day. Our ancestors were traveling, they're going here to dig for their roots or traveling to find food. Okay, there's no food where the ancestors told us it would be. What do we do now? Where do we go now? Everybody's hungry. Where do we go? Look at the stars, the sun, the moon. Okay, look inside at the stars and the moon. And then, like your friend, the businessman, okay, it just comes. We have to go there. We have to do this, you know, for the survival. So those people were then called these, what would you call them? Shaman, visionaries, wise women, wise men in the hunter-gatherer times. Everyone had someone in their tribe, in their family, who would do this. Later, the people say, "Okay, we have agriculture. Now we need people like this too to rule us." And the Bible describes this. The people wanted a king. You know, before they didn't have kings. This is just it's very recent time. They wanted a king. Well, now they got to have a king. You know, it's like. But is the king rightly guided? Is the king also have a connection to the, you know, to the maybe not, sometimes not, and so there's history. But really, you could say, for the ancient ones, each being had this quality that we call Malik in him or her, and it arose. This is my reading of it. It arose, for instance, when the child begins to say. The child begins to discover an I. Before, it's just part of the mother. And then it says at some point the child would say, okay, I can do this myself. I want to do this myself. Leave me alone. You know, I want to try this. You know, so this is sort of assertion of the I. But it's not only the I, it's the canness, the ableness. You could say that there's a flash of vision that the child wants to do something, to accomplish, a vision. So it's always vision with the power to do it both together, is what's in these beautiful words. So we have Maliki Yawmiddin, who is able to have the vision and the empowerment on all the levels of life at all times. Well, that's, and who is able to manage it when we come to this crossroads of Yawmiddin, where we have life choices. It's live or die, it's leave or go, it's succeed or fail, it's go here or go there, or stay or go. Who makes the decision at these life moments? Do we look it up in a dictionary to see what to do? Most likely not. Do we look it up on the internet? Probably not. Who makes the decision in these life-changing moments? Malik Yawmiddin. Hopefully it's hopefully we're in connection enough to do that.
So therefore we need all kinds of other connections. We need to listen to all kinds of sounds. We need to perceive all kinds of signals as well.
Absolutely.
Because everything is connected, so we get hints from it, you see.
We're surrounded by all we need, and inside, outside.
Thank you. Well, I think the whole world now is at the point of going beyond seeing historical, cultural, and religious differences. I think it's passé. We all need to wake up to the truth that it is there. So if you have had a religious background, fine. But if it doesn't take you out of you, then it has failed. You have failed. The purpose of it is to deliver you from the shadows to the light, to the real Malik. Because otherwise you think you are in charge.
Yeah.
Each one of us is given a tiny amount of ability to do, think, invent, create. That's tiny. It's a kindergarten where each one of us tries to play God a little bit. That's all. Until you find that in truth, it's under perfect governance that has its own perfection beyond our minds, and that's it. Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. I don't want to leave. I just go. Thank you. Please read the Fatiha.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
One of my big delights here is that I see by Allah's rahmah and your diligent work and sincerity and understanding of the deen, you're fairly safe because of, in spite of all this goodness and generosity, opening the doors to people who have been traumatized in the East. There's a lot of danger in that because there is a lot of violence and anger. So there is a limit to how much you can interact and connect. But I feel very content that there is enough strength in every way. That only the good ones will end up with you. 2 weeks ago in England, we had a wonderful gathering and a beautiful gazebo which blew up, which flew off. We had a being who was very much in the center of movements and political changes in the Middle East. and he came to visit us. His dream was to bring in his understanding of Islam. And it happened. And his dream was to get rid of the visible dictator. And it happened. And his dream also was to have enough strength and power, and he has it. So then he told the people so beautifully, he said quite spontaneously, "You were there, huh?" What did he say?
He was disappointed, Shaykh.
No, he said, don't come to Arab Muslims. Don't come to us. Stay where you are. You are safe. If you come, we'll ruin you. We'll poison you. So really, it's from someone all his life had been in real, what you would consider as to be sensible jihad against corruption, against abuse. Anyway, so I am very gratified to find that you people are waking up, awaken. Bismillah, good luck to you. I pray that you will open up the bridges between north, south, wherever, within limitations. Establish some sort of boundaries, some sort of basic rules, but let the young people do the rest. And they will learn that self-discipline and boundaries themselves because of the love of the boundless. So the idea is very simple. You love the infinite, accept the finite. You love light that has no shadows, accept light that has shadows. You love eternity, accept that which ever changes and ends. And on and on. So you balance the two sides. I've been really delighted to be here. I also am delighted, I think, that I leave tomorrow as well. Because I like to be delighted. Shaykh Saadi mentioned Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is your conference of contentment. Rahim is to be content that I know I am well, I know it's all is fine, I'm in good balance, my mind is not imposing itself upon me, etc., etc. This is Rahimiyyah. Rahman is for the whole universe. Is also looking after the germs that have come to me and given me a cold or whatever. So Rahman is cosmic, connectedness cosmic. Rahim, I now personally am experiencing it. So if my Rahimiyyah is my experiencing of that doesn't take me into contentment for its own sake, by its own sake, then I've been a thief. So to be content for a while is good. Help somebody. Somebody is in pain, somebody is in anguish. Only for them to move on more than that boundary. Otherwise it's endless. As you all know, people who are sick or ill or needy, they enter into that habitual zone forever. Always, don't you know, I've always been ill. That means I want power and nobody gives me power, so I make myself weak to make them feel guilty. What are you kidding? Rahman and Rahim are ever connected. Rahim is personal, Rahman is universal. Same thing with contentment. If your local contentment for a while doesn't lead you to the altar of adoration and worship of total contentment, then you are missing the opportunity. Good luck to you. I love you, and I hope that we'll be in touch many, many times. And also I hope that whatever went on here, you can produce it in a manner that will be easier for people to take. So good luck to you again and again and again with my love and salam. Thank you so much. Salam alaikum.